the sacred ground, proof that healing can still be found. We don't hide our wounds here, we tend. We teach what it means for broken to bend. This is beauty in ashes, and you're not alone. Here we turn silence into a home. Each tear becomes a drop of truth. Each truth becomes a sacred root. We teach the soul to breathe again, to walk, to speak, to rise, to mend. You are not your trauma. You are not your past. Let it rot. You are love, you are light, you are soul reborn. You're the calm in the eye of your own storm. On beauty and ashes, we say your name. We hold your pain. We light the path until you can walk it on your own. And even then, you're never truly alone. Beauty in ashes, freedom and truth, healing for elders, healing for youth. This is our platform, our prayer, our stage. This is our reckoning, our sacred light. This is the sound of hearts restored. This is the space we all move toward.
Hey everyone, welcome to Beauty and Ashes. I am so excited to have you here tonight. Please have some patience with us. We're still building out the show, so some things may be a little wonky, but that's all right. Shout out to Chris. I love the new song. It's fabulous. Hi Brenda. Hi Debbie. Hi Chris. Wet plants. All right, so Beauty and Ashes. This actually, it's a really funny story. And it's funny how life works out sometimes. This was meant to be a blog years ago. When I was dealing with the aftermath of my first husband's passing, and it felt like my entire life was just gone. All my hopes, all my dreams. I was left in the lurch with 3 young children, and everything just felt like a pile of ashes on the ground. Is kind of how I felt. And this thought in my mind started growing in a picture of ashes, and the idea of looking into a fire, like a campfire, after it's burned really low. And I always love looking in the fire as it's burning low because the embers glow so prettily. And this idea that those embers can still be coaxed with enough encouragement and enough fuel into a blaze again. And it could be big enough to warm your home and your family. It could be big enough, like a bonfire, to warm your community. Or you could turn it into a fiery inferno and burn down an entire system. Although, I think we better throw some sand on that one when we're done, just so that it doesn't come alive again. Um, anyway, so yes, yes, Brenda, I also love me a fire. So the idea behind this blog that I was going to create years ago that never came to fruition was this idea of using my journey through trauma and through healing to kind of encourage other people and, in a sense, kind of fan and fuel their own flames through trauma. It never came into fruition because life is chaos some days and I just got caught up in things. And so I find it really amusing that here I am today with the same concept only in a press show. It's great. We love that. So anyway, that's just a little bit about how this came into being. And tonight I really want to talk about um, trauma as a human experience and how it impacts us. So humans in general kind of are three or four multifaceted. So we are our physical body. So we have our physical body. We have our mental, like our brain, our mental, and we have our spiritual, which is kind of the side you can't see. And when we experience trauma, it impacts all those parts of our lives. So, hey Danielle, I'm glad you're here. So this idea of physical, mental, and spiritual, and how they are all interconnected in our body, and how trauma can affect those parts of ourselves. So, okay, I want this to be a little bit more interactive. So, I'm going to ask a question, and I would absolutely love it if you guys would step in and kind of type an answer out in the comments. When you feel either nervousness, dread, or fear, where in your body do you typically feel that? Can you give me an answer? Like when you're really nervous about something, or you're scared or terrified or even dreading something, where do you usually feel that? Can you give me an answer? I know this is a little bit delayed, so it's fine. So when you have to, okay, like for instance, like when you have to go in for a court date or something and you're just absolutely dreading it, or you just know like you're gonna have to face your caseworker or whatever else, or any type of something that just like has you feeling just terrified. Where do you feel that in your body? Can you give me an answer? Debbie, your whole body tightens up? Yeah. Is there any specific place you feel it more than anywhere else? Danielle. Okay, so when you are nervous about something, like say a court date, or having to talk to a caseworker, or dealing with the cops, or um, I don't know, playing the piano. Yeah, okay, your hands shake. How about anywhere else? Does anybody feel it kind of in their guts? Yep, stomach ache, Debbie, exactly. Does anybody else get a really bad stomach ache, or you get those flutters or butterflies in your tummy? Yeah, left side of the neck? Yep. Okay. So a lot of people will experience fear and dread and nervousness in their stomach. Like where you get those butterflies in your tummy and things just kind of like feel ick and you get a stomach ache. The stress of it you can feel in your neck, sometimes in your back. Okay, what about sorrow and anguish, like when you're really, really sad about something? Where do you feel that typically? Yeah, Daniel, nauseous, exactly. So when you're feeling really sad and you're really feeling sorrowful about something, where do you typically feel that? Yeah, headaches happen too sometimes. Like, these are really strong feelings, right? And you feel them in your body. It's like a lot of people feel sorrow and anguish in their chest area. Like their chest will tighten up and you'll feel heavy. So this is what I mean by, okay, everything is interconnected. So when you're feeling those feelings in your body, it's your nervous system and your hormones are working in your physical body to cause things, but it also affects your mental and your spiritual. And in a sense, yeah, yeah, headaches and yeah, your chest too. Okay. So think about this. Your stomach, your digestive system, right? Your Yep. Okay. So your immune system starts in your gut where you feel that nervousness and like fear. And then when you feel sorrow and anguish, it really actually affects like the area where your heart is at. Yeah, run and cry but can't get it out. Yeah, those are very strong feelings exactly. Mhm. Yeah, Debbie, I yes. So this is affecting your physical. So I like to think of like feelings as the part of us that kind of transcends the mental, physical, and spiritual part because it kind of connects it all, right? So when you get these really strong feelings, you feel them in your body and in your spirit and in your mind, and it can actually leave lasting effects on you. Like, and you don't have to answer this, but how many of you out there suffer from chronic pain or strange illnesses that you can't explain, or just in general physical issues that are bothering you? The boys are playing in the back room, apparently. It's funny. Um, so this idea that trauma can actually affect you and your health in all of the aspects of your life. So this is something that is very important to be aware of when we're talking about healing. We want to approach this in a way that encompasses all the parts of you. So we want to cover all the parts of your physical, your mental, and your spiritual health, right? So this is something that is extremely important. Now, how many of you, raise your hand, have experienced trauma? We're all here because we've experienced trauma, right? Whether it's a CPS case or it's somebody else or something else. And it's totally fine if you are here with us tonight and you're not here because of CPS. You're welcome here anyways. Trauma is trauma. Yes, Chris, exactly. You've all experienced trauma. Okay? Trauma is a universal human experience. Everybody experiences trauma at some point in their life. Now, it looks different for everybody. Yeah, Debbie, actually, heart problems stress can cause heart issues. It can affect your heart. I know Gunner's gone through that. Hi, Dr. Death. All right, so trauma is a universal human experience. We're not going to get out of this life alive, and we are not going to get out of this life without experiencing trauma, right? Now, so one of the things that I have found over many, many years of observing human behavior is sometimes we get caught in this trap of my pain is worse than your pain and you cannot understand my pain. Does that sound familiar to anybody? Okay, so I ask you, if a man dies and parents lose their only son, a sister loses her only brother, and a wife loses her hopefully only husband, who has the worst pain? Who's going to have the hardest time with that loss? What do you think? I've seen situations like this where the parents, because they've lost their only son, believe that their pain is worse than anybody else's in that situation. The sister still has her family, the wife still has their kids. She's able to move on and maybe remarry, but they've still lost their son. Do they have it worse? Does the sister who lost her only brother have it worse? Because, her kids don't have an uncle anymore, and she's lost her only childhood companion. And what about the wife? She's left with kids, alone, and trying to struggle and scrape a life out of it. Who has it worse? Okay, so the point I'm trying to make with this, and I was kind of hoping some people would be here with me tonight to help me out with this, but it's okay. It's fine. So, the point is that nobody has it worse, right? The wife cannot understand the pain of the parents necessarily in losing their only son. And the parents can't necessarily understand the sister for losing her brother, right? And nobody in this situation can understand the wife from losing her husband. Except the common ground where everybody experiences trauma. So the idea behind this is to help everybody understand that we all have common ground here. I cannot understand Danielle's situation from her perspective because I'm not living it. I can't understand Debbie's, I can't understand, but I can understand the effects of trauma because I have experienced them. So on a physical plane, and where our physical and mental meet, we can understand each other, and we have some very similar experiences, right? A lot of us experience the same feelings in the same places in our body. We know what trauma does to us. We know what stress does to us. We know how it makes us feel. The part that we cannot understand about each other is the impact it's having on our spiritual self, that place where we are experiencing what is happening to us from our personal perspectives. Does that make sense? I'm hoping I'm making sense. So my hope is that here we can find common ground and start working together to heal, kind of like in a community type situation. But in order to be able to do that, you have to have common ground. So even though I can't understand what all of you are going through very specifically in a spiritual sense, I can completely understand what you're going through from a physical sense because I have experienced some of those same things. And that's the same for all of you. So it's this idea that we have common ground and we can kind of understand each other from there. So we don't have to get lost in the confusion of, well, nobody understands me, nobody gets it, nobody's ever experienced this before. Well, we haven't experienced your exact situation. That's 100% true. And we cannot know what you're thinking and feeling at all times. But we do know what the impact of the trauma is doing to us. And we know what the impact of the trauma is probably doing to you. Exactly. Yes. Everybody loses loved ones. Yeah, I'm sorry to hear that, Dr. Death. That's very sad. And that's very frustrating. So, how do we go from here? We don't want to stay in trauma, and we don't want to stay in this place of complete brokenness. We don't want to stay where we are hurting so bad we can't hardly function. We don't want to stay in the pain. And a lot of us right now are looking at the hope of having our kids come home and our families back together. We don't want to stay in this place of brokenness, and we don't want to stay in this place of trauma. We want to come out of it. We want to work towards something better and brighter. So we want to fan those embers and give them some very good fuel so that we can, get our lives in a blaze again. Well, Debbie, we can't actually all understand all of that because, in fact, I did not lose my children. I lost my husband through this. Not really lost him. We have been separated for almost 3 years, but I got to keep my kids. Don't ask me how we did that. I honestly think it was a miracle. But that's my point, is not everybody here has experienced even a CPS case the exact same way. Not all of us went through it the same way, and not all of us had the same outcome. We can understand that they definitely do things very badly. They don't actually care, and they definitely hurt us. And we can all understand that CPS does not work in our best interest or the best interest of our children 100%. But not all of our cases ended exactly the same. So, the question is, how do we go from here? Because we don't want to keep staying here in the trauma, right? We want to overcome. We want to be overcomers. So I think that we need to start learning how to support ourselves in the different facets of our beings, in our spiritual and our mental and our physical. So how do we go about doing that? Again, I ran out of notes. An hour is a lot longer than you think it is when you're getting into it. So, although Gunnar would be very proud of me because I did, in fact, make notes to keep me on track tonight, it's just I didn't have enough of them. So that's totally fine. We will just, work it as we go. So one thing that I always encourage, like very first, before anything else, is to take a really good look at your diet. And that seems like a really strange place to start, but actually your diet is where everything starts, right? Food is the building blocks to your life. That's what keeps you alive. And that is what keeps you healthy and keeps you going. That's fuel for your body and your mind. And so looking at your diet is probably number one. And I especially say this for people if you have kids who struggle with certain things, diet is always the first place I go. So if you're eating a lot of processed foods, that's not always the best thing for you. Now, every body is different. So my body reacts to food very differently than somebody else's body reacts to food. But just keeping attention, paying attention to how your body does react to the food. Are you feeling sluggish in a day? Are you feeling tired? Are you feeling achy and sore? Are you feeling like you could take on the world and climb a mountain? Pay attention to how you're feeling physically every day. And then start kind of taking a look at what it is that you were eating, because that is always the first place any good health person will tell you to start. Lots of good meats and vegetables and fresh fruit is very good. Simple. I always say keep it simple. Now, I know that dietary stuff can be really hard for a lot of people. Not all of us have a budget for all organic or whatever. That stuff's expensive. But even just making small changes to your daily routines and meals can make such a big difference. Like just adding an extra glass of water in a day can really help with your mental capabilities. Um, some of that brain fog that some of you might be experiencing, I know I have. So that's a really, really good place to start. And we can definitely talk more about that if anybody has questions. I know there's a lot of information about dietary stuff out there these days. You have to figure out what works best for you and your family. So that is one thing that I recommend. Another thing is spending time with nature. Nature is such an important thing. Okay, we're humans. We're made to be a part of nature. I mean, we are nature, right? I mean, we live in the same world as all these animals. We live in the same habitats, right? We just kind of fancy ours up a bit, but we're meant to be outside. We're meant to be in the sunshine. Anybody have a vitamin D deficiency? I don't get out enough. That's something I have to work on in my life is to get outside more. It's amazing. Just getting 30 minutes of sun in a day can alleviate so many issues, and it can help with depression. It can help with just general feelings of hopelessness. It can help brighten up your day, gives you a little vitamin C or vitamin D. Vitamin C is also good, by the way, for your immune system if you want to support it. If you have a lot of stomach pains and issues where you're just not feeling good, you're nervous all the time, you got really high anxiety, and you're feeling nauseous and got stomach aches and stuff, you really, really, really want to be supporting your immune system because it starts there in your gut. So those are definitely some things that I highly recommend. Get outside. Take your shoes and socks off. Put your feet in the dirt. It's called grounding, and it helps you kind of like a battery is how they describe that. And it helps you kind of charge up. So that's a really good way to do it. Just like, 30 minutes in the sunshine with your bare feet in the ground. You'd be amazed at how much better you feel after a day like that. So a lot of us are walking out here with high functioning depression. We'll show up and we'll keep smiling, but the minute we're not around you anymore, we kind of just lay in the doldrums. I've been there. I've been just flat out on the floor, not willing to do anything. This is a really hard thing to go through, you guys. So, I mean, you're acknowledged. Your pain is absolutely acknowledged, and your trauma is absolutely acknowledged. So, yes, it does. It makes you feel different when you're outside with your feet in the grass or in the dirt, barefoot. It's one of my favorite things. I know when I'm feeling really, really, really low and I'm just not functioning at where I need to or want to be, I need to take myself outside. I need to go sit in the sunshine. Even if I'm just like reading a book out in the sun for a little while or just putting my foot in the sand kind of thing. That's why I love the beach so much. I miss the beach. Yeah. So what are other things? What are some of the ways that you guys have found to help you cope? I saw somebody say you play games, Dr. Death. Are they like board games, card games, or are they video games? Or like, the little phone games that you play sometimes people like to play? Like what are some of the games you like to play to cope? What are other ways that you guys like to cope? Yes, Kirsty Amber. Yep. Hiking has been a big one for me. Yeah. Mental exhaustion is actually very common amongst those of us who have gone through these cases because, well, first of all, we're trying to find. Sammy says dark humor. My daughter says dark humor. Yeah, she's not wrong. We do. We cope with dark humor. Fishing. Oh, yeah. My kids love fishing. I am not a fishing aficionado, but I love to sit out there with them. Oh, you can't walk in the grass? Not even in your yard? That's a bummer. I wonder if, like, there's a place where you could go. You know, Debbie, sometimes swimming, like just getting into a pool and swimming, that can be so therapeutic. Just get in the water and just move, especially on a hot day. It's so refreshing. Yeah, dark humor. Yeah, a lot of us absolutely cope with dark humor. Absolutely. Hi, John. Oh yeah, animals. See, Debbie, exactly. That's what I mean by nature. Like, interact with the animals. Get a pet. I'm not even kidding. Sometimes having pets around can be so like helpful and beneficial. Even if they're outside, just having that other body around, that other living, breathing thing, it can be so therapeutic and helpful. Absolutely. Another one I do is I read. I do a lot of reading. Sometimes I read too much, but I like to read. What are other ways that you guys have found that work to cope? See, and I love this because I really wanted this to be more interactive because I know that all of you have your own special, unique experiences and that you are capable of sharing with all of us, and we can learn from each other. And I just love that community aspect so much. So I really, really was hoping that you guys would jump in and be a part of this. So I'm so glad. Thank you for giving me your comments. I love seeing how you guys are working through your situations. What are other ways that you know how to cope? There's a lot of different ways. Everybody has a different way. I know some people love art. My sister is very artsy and she loves music. So she uses like music and art to cope with her traumas. Not thinking about it, absolutely. Some days you just need a break and just not to think about it, right? Those are days I usually like pack the kids up and say, let's go somewhere where mommy doesn't have to think about this anymore. Hi, Chris Nicole. Aw, I love that you have kittens. That's so great. I would also keep them outside. I don't like cats in the house. You messaged me and called me? You know, I messaged you back. You never answered me back. I don't know. I don't know what happened there. We must have got disconnected somehow. Text Gunner. He's in the back room. Yeah, well, text him. If you want to jump in here with me, you still can. He's in the back room there somewhere. He'll send you the link, girl. So yeah, I invited Chris to come in with me tonight because she wrote my songs and they are so beautiful. I'm in love with them. I think they're amazing. She's so talented. Oh, driving. Yeah, I used to drive. Okay, so COVID. That's how I got through COVID. Because being stuck in the house for days on end with 3 small children was just not it all the time. And we couldn't go anywhere because the state we were in shut everything down. So I'd put them in the car and we just drive around the countryside. we just go driving. It's great. I learned a lot about our new state at that time because we had moved to a whole new state on top of it. Yes, directing your anger where it belongs also helps. You are right. Kirsty, so the first song was played at the beginning of the show. You can go back and hear it. I chose it for my intro. I'm just so in love with it. And then the other song will be played. We decided to play it towards the end when the show is gonna shut off. Um, but they're so amazing. I don't know how she does it because I just kind of told her the name of my show and gave her like the very general concept, and she turned in like everything that I was thinking into a song without me even having to tell her. She's like so talented. I was very impressed. John, I have never been one to believe in coincidence ever. I truly believe that things work out for reasons beyond what we can maybe comprehend sometimes. But I have never been one to deal with that. Like I've never believed in coincidence. Yeah. So I don't know if she's gonna get on here. What are other ways? You guys are amazing, by the way. I'm so thankful that you're here to support this and that you guys showed up tonight. That makes me very happy. Yeah, that's a lot. That's a lot of why we're doing what we're doing. Just knowing all the rabbit holes we've been down and understanding what is happening to these children out here through this system, and just like it breaks my heart. I'm one of those people, like I want to scream and I want to cry and I want to adopt all the babies because I hate children being hurt. I hate it. It just breaks my heart. There she is, maybe. Hi. Are you here? Almost, maybe. I see blank. Black
Yes,
screen.
I'm here. I'm here.
There she is. Hi.
Hello, guys.
Thank you for my songs. They're
Of
beautiful.
course. And I know, and I have a few more I wanted to send you because I love doing yours because yours are so like I don't know. They're just very it's really it's what we all go through. It's what we all feel. It's it's there's so much I don't know. I think just
Yeah.
being an empath, and I know you're an empath too, and you do
Yeah.
kind of just can feel that from, and being an advocate, I feel a lot of like, the people that I work with, like how they're feeling and maybe different from how I'm feeling. And like, I see how they cope with it and, stuff like that. So it's probably the favorite set of songs that I've written and done. So I love them. I'll keep them coming.
I love them too. They're amazing. So,
Thank you.
your music, you kind of cope through your music a little bit. And you do art too, right?
Yes. Yeah, so I also like paint. Like I actually do actual like art. Like I didn't even know like that I was really that artistic until I I like made stuff when I got my first apartment, and like somebody came over and they're like, "Oh, where'd you buy that?" I'm like, "I made it. I went to Home Depot and I got the wood and I like put it together and then I just painted it and yeah."
I love that.
And they're like, "Did you freehand that?" And I'm like, "What does that mean?" And they're like, "Well, did you trace it?" I'm like, "I don't know how I would have traced that on wood." But no, I was like, I looked at a picture that like gave me somewhat of a idea of what I wanted to do. And so yeah, and I have it, yeah, it's in my family. My nana was very artistic, and but
Yeah.
music is definitely my thing. Music is my go-to for when I like I said, when I meditate, like it's my form of getting away. And so writing and yeah, listening to
I love
music
that.
and
I love
yeah.
that. I
Hey,
love
Debbie.
listening to music, like specific music at certain times just hits right,
Yeah.
but I'm no good at writing it, so that's not my
Mhm.
thing. But I like writing. I will write
But see, if you
sometimes.
like writing, you might be surprised because sometimes you can take what you write and turn it into a song.
Yeah, I can see that. That's true.
Because I started by just journaling and then I started
Mm,
getting more creative with it and then like
okay.
finding and like doing poems from like the writing and then that turned into songs.
You know what I used to do is when the kids were really little, I made up songs to help them learn how to spell their names,
Yeah.
and
Uh,
they would just go around singing them, and then they knew how to spell their names. It was
yeah.
great.
I know. You know what? I still do stuff like that with my kids and even with myself to like remind myself certain things. Like I'll make up songs. I guess I've been making up songs my whole life. Cause I had a song for like my bus driver that I had growing up, like that I used to sing to my bus driver. So yeah, I guess my son makes up songs. I've noticed that recently. So it
Aw,
must just be something that we do.
I love
We
that though.
just,
That's
yeah,
awesome. Yeah,
yeah.
music definitely heals the soul, Barbara. Yeah,
Yes,
Kirsty,
it
I have
does.
cried while writing as well. I have been angry while writing, and then I'll tear it up or burn it or
Burn
something.
it. Remember
Sometimes
we were talking about that. That
we
feels good.
were. It does. Like, just
Hmm.
write it all out. Like, one day I actually sat and wrote a bunch of hate mail to our caseworkers,
Yeah.
and then I burned it. It was great. It was very
You know, and like,
therapeutic.
yeah, and the feeling you get of like that release, like of like watching it like go in the flames and like it's like a weight lifted off you. And you think it sounds so like cheesy to do and like it like wouldn't it actually works like the feeling that you get from it like letting go of all this like built up anger built up because like my uncle used to always tell me like hate or anger in your heart only hurts you, it doesn't hurt the other person because they don't feel that hate or that anger.
That's very
And
true.
and so that's something that's stuck with me for a long time. And so I always try to, if I have that anger, I write it and then I try to burn it, get rid of it,
Oh,
and
yeah.
release it.
Yeah, I was kind of talking about that a little bit earlier, how like we can't really understand what every person is going through and what they're feeling specifically, but we all know the impact of trauma.
And trauma is different for everyone, and it shows
It
up
is.
in different forms and it shows up at different times.
Yep.
Um, and
Yeah.
that's one thing I'm noticing with my kids right now is, um, they go through spurts of things and then and you have to make sure that they know that you're there and that they can talk to you about it and they could tell you their feelings and that line of
Absolutely.
communication is open because otherwise you don't want them to feel like they have to. I know as a kid I grew up in a house where like we weren't allowed to talk about our feelings and it was looked
Mhm.
at as like weakness and we couldn't like
Oh,
cry or anything. Even when my dad passed away, like I wouldn't cry in front of people. And um
yeah, we had a
and
lot of that growing up too.
yeah, so but it's good, and that's I don't want my kids to feel like that. I want them to know
Yeah.
like that your emotions are valid, and I want you to talk to mommy about them. You don't have to even talk to mommy. You could just express your emotions to me. And my kids, I also have them painting. Painting is a good way to draw like what they're feeling, like especially for the ones that can't talk.
Oh,
Like they
absolutely.
paint pictures or they draw
Oh, yeah.
and like
That's a
explain their
big thing in
emotions.
play therapy is to have
Mm.
kids draw and paint.
Yeah, and have
It's
even
very
an
therapeutic. Yeah.
emotion charts, like
Right.
where they can circle like what like the space like that they feel.
Mhm.
That's another thing I've done with my
Yeah.
son this entire time, and now I started with my daughter.
Yeah,
But
that's good.
yeah,
Well, nature and creativity are the two things
yeah,
that really do transcend like all parts of humanity. Like it kind of connects your physical, your mental, and your spiritual all together to interact with nature and to let your creativity fly. And it hurts me so badly that we just have taken so much creativity away from children, especially in their younger years.
Yes.
And this is a really good point too for those of you who are looking towards maybe having your kids come home soon. Like they're going to come home with a lot of big feelings.
Yes.
They're going to have a lot of big feelings. And having things around that they can use to kind of help them work those out, like with like art supplies and a place to go outside and things like that, like that's going to be so helpful.
Right. And one thing also, you still have to, depending on the age, like there's still, like with me, like there still has to be like rules, there still has to be structure, there still has to be,
Oh yeah,
and that all works. But coming up with that together with them, I think is important, and
absolutely.
making them feel like they were included in it, because then when they do something that they shouldn't do, then and they have to go to timeout. Like my thing is I give timeout for however old they are, so 4 minutes or like 6 minutes, whatever the case may be. But um and it's I don't know, like it's those little things, and like when they agree and they think that that's when you're making it, and then they get in trouble, you can say to them, "Well, that's what you said you thought was best." Like, so then they know, like it's not just you punishing them. This is something we came up with together,
Yeah,
and so
for
that's another good thing to
sure.
have. And but
Yeah,
taking walks, I think too, are good.
absolutely. Kirsty, car talks are the best. So are right before bedtime when they're supposed to be getting settled in to rest. They start to talk, and those conversations can be a riot.
Yes. And well, or when you're supposed to be reading a book and then they just start talking. And
Mm-hmm.
we do that at dinner time too, because we have a set like
Yeah,
time that we eat dinner, and like, thank you, Bubba. And we
dinner
like
too.
to talk about our days and like what happened, and like how school went. And my son's very good at telling his emotions. He'll say like he's really, really mad, or like, like he gets
Yeah,
like he's very open with his emotions, and I'm
that's
grateful for that.
good.
But
That's
my
good.
thank you, baby. But
Yeah,
my daughter, not so much. She's kind of closed off. She's more like how I was when I was a kid. So I'm working on that with her. But
it's okay.
like I said, every
Sometimes
kid's
it's
different.
hard. Sometimes it's hard to put words to our emotions. Sometimes it's hard to explain.
Yeah.
It's hard sometimes to even identify what you're feeling, especially when you're going through such a big, eventful, like traumatizing
Right.
event.
Well,
So
and I think part of with my daughter is with Dominic, and then hopefully now with Gia, I didn't get the crucial year, of her safety net and her security, and where she feels like she could open up, and that was taken from me,
yeah,
and her. And so now learning to build that with each other has definitely been something that I've been trying to work on, because and that means like taking days that it's just me and Kiki day, or doing
yeah,
stuff like that. But every it's different, and having a plan is definitely important. And even for people that have visits with their kids, you have to expect that sometimes. I know in my case, they have different emotions,
yeah,
at on different visits, and you don't know why. But letting
yeah,
them know that you're there, and that what you talk about stays between the two of you guys, and keeping your word on that. And unless, of course, they said something, like they're going to hurt themselves. But
for sure.
um and making sure that they feel like they can talk to you, and that they can openly talk to you and express themselves, I think
Absolutely.
it's very important, especially with dealing with stuff like what we're all dealing with.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, Kirsty, getting off devices and just having time together
Yeah.
is important for not even for just like with you and your kids, but you and your significant other
Yeah.
too. Like spending that time off of devices and like actually communicating is so
Yes.
important. And it's hard. It is hard. It's been hard for us, especially with all of this going on because we communicate with so many people in a day. But just knowing
Yes.
like it's okay to take an hour or two and put your phone down and go spend some time. And
Yeah,
that's
you're right.
especially, like, if you are into social media and stuff, it's so easy to get wrapped up in it and forget and lose track of time, and you get stuck in it, and then, actually sometimes, like, especially if you're scrolling Facebook or TikTok, sometimes, like, you don't even realize it, but it will actually, trigger anxiety. It can trigger
Mhm.
anxiety, it can trigger a lot of, like, frustration, especially if, like, you are seeing a lot of people whose lives look so much more better than yours right now, or
Yeah,
you get too much of the news in a day from the whole world. Like, we can't deal with the whole world. We
right,
only have our tiny little corners of the universe here.
right,
Like, all I can do is do my best to impact my tiny little corner. Like, I
right,
don't need to be solving everybody in the world's problems.
right. And I think, that's important, and especially for all of us that, are doing the shows and are, everybody else out there advocating or, helping others with their cases. And it does, it
Mhm.
takes up a lot of your time. And we're doing it because we just want to help. And
Absolutely.
it could come between you and your significant other because,
It can.
especially when only one of you is doing it and the other one doesn't necessarily understand it,
Yeah, that can be very
and
hard.
you're right. You do have to take that time to make sure that you give that, spare moments like to your significant other. And
Oh, absolutely. Especially if you want to have a strong relationship, like, and this is something, like, we need to consider. Like, if you have a significant other, especially one who is living in your home, and you guys are looking forward to having kids come home, like, you want to put the work in now to
yeah,
make sure that your relationship is rock solid before those kids come home, because you are going to want to be on the same page. You're going to want to have the same, at least, concept of parenting plan. Like, you want to be connected, because parenting is hard enough as it is, but when you're not connected and you're not on the same page, parenting is almost impossible.
and you know what, kids can sense vibes in parents. I know when I was a kid,
Absolutely.
they can sense when, like, when the tension is off, like when there's tension between the parents, even if they don't let you hear the arguing, even if it's not in front of you, you sense it, and that's one thing. So you want to make sure that that you are in the best possible, like, place you can be, so you can show them love, you can show them
Yeah.
what it's supposed to look like as mom and dad, with your kids. And it's as a family,
Yep.
and taking
Oh,
those
yeah.
times and setting even a day that's like a family day. Like for us, Sundays, Sunday is family day. And
That's good.
even growing up, that was how it was with us. And my
Yeah.
dad, no matter what, we couldn't even have friends. No, it was family day.
Oh, yeah.
And so we went to church.
Personally, electric getting cut off is the best day. Like, we used to have blackouts when we were kids, and we
Yeah,
just thought it was the best thing. And the other day we had a storm, and my son comes to me, he's like, "Do you think we're gonna have a blackout?" And I'm like, "Do you want a blackout?" He says, "Yes." And I'm like, "Why?"
yeah.
He's like, "'Cause they're so much fun."
I know. And like at my lake house, and I was talking to my mom about this. We used to not get cell phone service up there, and I used to love going up there for that reason because
Oh,
it was
yeah.
like getting away. And this was when I was young, before I had kids, before like was married and whatever. And but yet I still felt like a sense of like just like, because you're just like, on the lake, you're outside the whole time, you're like all day long, and it's just, you feel fresh air, you
Oh,
feel
yeah.
just nature, you're just present. And
Absolutely.
it's so needed. It
Oh,
really,
yeah.
really is needed.
Yeah, I used to have Facebook, and I decided to get rid of it because it was just not, it was not a positive thing for my mental health at the time. It was very overwhelming. It was just, I felt like guilty when I wasn't connecting with people and stuff. So I got rid of it, and I actually didn't get back on social media for like 2 years.
Yeah.
And quite frankly, it was not a bad thing. It was
Yeah.
time that I needed for myself to just disconnect from people in general and just like heal. And sometimes you really just need that. You need that
Yes.
time and space to be with yourself and with your family and just like take the time to heal.
And savor those moments with your family. I mean, and I think, if your kids come home, when you have visits with your kids, put the phones down, put the electronics down, and savor those moments, and
Oh yeah. They
let
grow too
them
fast.
be let them be moments that you cherish and that is special because
Mhm.
it's really important for both parents and the
Absolutely.
kids.
Kirsty, I love, yeah. So I have three brothers growing up who were all Boy Scouts, and
Mm,
my dad was military, and so like
Yeah.
we were very survival
Yep.
outdoors. Like you should have seen us during Y2K, man. Like,
Mhm. Oh my gosh, I remember.
oh my goodness, we were prepared. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, my dad was very military too. Very military.
Oh yeah. Like that was our thing. Like we just survived.
Yeah.
So, all right, it's time to wrap up.
Okay.
Thank you so much to everybody who showed up tonight. I appreciate your support. Thank you for your patience as we're still building this show out, and I'm kind of getting used to how everything works and being on here. And thank you so much, Chris, for joining me and for
Yeah,
my amazing songs. I love them so much.
you're welcome. It was my pleasure doing that.
Yeah.
Have a good night, guys.
Have a good night.
And
I do have an email attached to this account. So if somebody has questions or they'd love to see something addressed, you guys are more than welcome to reach out to me. I'm also on TikTok. It's all under Beauty and Ashes. My email is beautyandashes@yahoo.com. And you guys are more than welcome to email me, reach out, whatever. I'm happy to give you a listening ear or put a program in on the show, however that works out. So have a good night. Thanks for showing up, you guys.
bye, guys.
In the United States, CPS makes upwards of $3 billion per day on trafficking and selling our children. The corruption may start with the caseworker, but goes through the judicial system, passing the governor through the Senate and into the White House. The entire system has a hand in the business known as CPS.
Our children are stolen every minute of a 24-hour day. They are being robbed of their innocence, their trust, their happiness. As parents, we are isolated and betrayed by a government we trust. States are balancing budgets on kids' lives. Only 12% of the kids taken will be reunified. Title IV funding is being riveted with fraud.
We need to stop CPS and abolish CPUFist.com is leading the way. Join us.